Final assessment by Evelyn Wang. I chose the speech by George Takei, Why I Love the Country That Once Betrayed Me. Okay, so speaker, who is George Takei? Takei is a happily married gay husband who is a part of the LGBTQ plus community. He's also a survivor of the concentration camps during World War II. He's a political activist, author, and Japanese American actor, best known for his role as Haruka Sulu in Star Trek. Okay, so moving on, there's occasion. The occasion is both a large and immediate occasion. However, I'd say it's more of an immediate occasion. So this is a large occasion because it's around a broad topic of why he loves America after we betrayed him. This is more of an immediate occasion because it's over a certain event and struggle that he went through to make him realize why he loves our country and why he is the way he is now. This struggle was going through concentration camps at a young age during World War II. Okay, so audience. Who is the audience? So the direct audience of this speech is towards the American citizens. This is because he is here just voicing why he loves our country. However, he's also telling them that he loved the country because we're able to make changes to make our voices and opinions heard. So at the same time, he's telling them to keep our country great by making our country true and better as we go to make changes and take stands. He's specifically and indirectly speaking towards the American government and politicians because in a democracy, we vote for politicians to represent us in our government. And both the government and politicians can make our country as great as them or as corrupt as they are. Okay, so moving on. The purpose of this speech is to say overall his beliefs, why he loves our country, and why he believes in it. He wants to tell the story of his life and how he got to this conclusion, while at the same time informing us on this piece of history. Not only that, but to wake people up and show them that they can make a change and impact on our country. Okay, subject. So this speech was about what Takei went through and why he still loves America. He talks about the people and events that helped him understand why he loves our country. Moving on is the tone. So the speech starts out with a frustrated tone as he's telling his story about how he's going through these concentration camps. However, the tone takes a shift when Takei really finally understands our democracy and how it works. This tone turns into more of an awestruck kind of tone, showing how he felt about America and how it opened his eyes to love the people in America and what they were striving for. He wanted to also join and motivate others to help America become a better place and a truer democracy. Okay, moving on, persuasive appeals and devices. Number 1. So in this excerpt from the speech, it's made up of the ethos appeal. This adds to the credibility of George Takei because it's stating who he is. It's introducing some of the things about him and his life to add to his speech by him stating away I'm a veteran of the Starship Enterprise or I'm a grandson of immigrants. It's explaining who he is and just giving you a little base story about him. So then going on to the devices that connect to this excerpt. So in the gray area, this whole quote is an example of illusion. So George Takei is most well known for a space character in Star Trek named Haruka Sulu. And it's basically, in the show, there's a team of different space explorers who go around to discover the universe. This boosts the appeal ethos because it's a big part of who Takei is, and it's alluding to his character, which means it's really important to him, and it compares himself to the fictional character. And sometimes actors tend to feel their characters and them are one and the same because of how important the character is in their life. Moving over to the white section, comparing the two quotes, you can see that there's parallelism. There's parallelism between who Takei is fictionally and who he is actually. Both of the descriptions were pretty similar and were connected by the word boldly. In the first quote, he is one of he is one of the space explorers trying to go where no one has been before. And then in the second one, which is his reality, he is the grandson of someone who is uh, going to explore America where no one else has gone before in their family, looking for opportunities. This really shows how he relates to his fictional character uh, through his reality compared to his, you know, acting career. Okay, moving on to number two. So this part is a example of both logos and pathos. The speech is telling us facts about what happens to the people of America after the attack of Pearl Harbor and how our country reacted. This logos helps boost the pathos and invokes emotions of remorse and outrage because the citizens weren't even given a chance to explain themselves. They were just categorized as dangerous because of their race. Then going to the devices in the gray area, with no charge, with no trial, with no due process. This is a rule of three and a NAFRA. There are three examples of how the Japanese Americans didn't even get a chance to fend for themselves. And it starts with no to put emphasis on how they were cheated. And this really boosts the pathos appeal because it really gets you to think in their shoes and how unfair it was. It makes you think about how you may have felt if you were alienated. Then over here, the blistering hot deserts of Arizona, the sultry swamps of Arkansas, and the wastelands of Wyoming. It's another case of rule of three, and it just puts emphasis on how there's bad conditions, and this also makes you feel remorse on how their situation is going to be like. Number three. So in this part of the speech, there's both ethos and pathos. The credibility was on the key because he's the one telling his story firsthand. He's telling from his experience. There's also pathos because it makes people feel gloomy and sad about the situation a 5-year-old and their family was put in. So this quote in the speech is a strong use of anaphora. The quote repeats the beginning "I remember" to put an emphasis on how the event stuck with him even till now when he's an adult. It especially appeals to our pathos because if you think about it, little problems affect children a lot mentally already. So with him being in a concentration camp, you can't help but imagine how terrifying it must be, and you just have fear for them. Also, I'd like to comment there's a little humor when he says but to 5-year-old me, I thought it was kind of nice that they lit the way to pee for me. I feel like the humor is just to add a reminder about how this speech isn't why he doesn't like America, it's why and how he concluded he loves our country. Okay, number four. So this is ethos because it's being told from Taki's experience, and this is pathos because it invokes emotions. Because when the family was trying to get back on their feet, they weren't welcome, and then they didn't have anything after going to concentration camps. And this really makes the audience feel pity and even fear for them because and especially when the baby sister goes, "Mama, let's go back home," and it's stated that behind the barbed wires was home. It's referencing to the prisons and concentration camps being home to them. And that's already a bad situation. But if you think about it, they were stating that it was a safer place there than being out where they were hated on. So then moving to the devices, this quote, "This is an example of one of many anecdotes from the speech. This boosts the pathos appeal because you know it's a real story, and it makes the whole experience of them getting back on their feet even scarier and alarming on how they were treated." Okay, number five. So this is both ethos and pathos. Like the rest of the ethos, it's because it's about our speaker's story. This pathos because it makes you feel the conflicted emotions as he's trying to discover more about our country and why he spent in prison, his childhood in imprisonment. This is where the speech really takes a turn because he's able to learn about his ideals and start discovering why he loves our country after all he's been through. Over in the gray section, this is an allusion to the Declaration of Independence. That very line is what America stands for. This boosts the pathos appeal because it makes us feel bad about how we treated the situation. What we as a nation stood for wasn't followed for all of our citizens, and that's really upsetting. In the white area, This is a very impactful simile. This simile compares the American government to its people. This really boosts the pathos appeal because it makes you think about our government and how it can be changed. It invokes motivation and inspiration to make those changes. Number six. Okay, so this piece of text is pathos. It really makes you feel like after like all the struggle and the prejudice that they, went through, you get a sense of relief and accomplishment that they made a change. In this quote, it's an allusion to President Truman, what he said after the 442nd Regiment came back from fighting in the war for the country. He was talking about how they made a huge impact on the world because they made a change. They fought against prejudice and racism, and they won. They also won for our country. This boosts pathos because it really motivates you and thinks it makes you think that you can make a change as well, and you become in awe that after all this struggle and such a long journey that they're finally getting recognized and that they made a change. Okay, number seven. This piece of text is pathos. It really motivates you and makes you feel like a proud citizen. It makes you believe in our democracy. It makes you want to make a change. It really gets you going, and it inspires you to take a stand. Okay, so this piece of like text that is mainly anaphora, and the beginning that is repeated is they. It uh, puts emphasis on how his heroes impacted him in a good way by saying they did that or they did this. It really puts in focus on what they accomplished. This appeals to our pathos because it really opens our eyes and motivates us to love our country and to help make our country better. Also, I'd like to say there's a little allusion to Voltaire saying, "With great power comes great responsibility." When it says, "They gave me a legacy, and with that legacy comes a responsibility." Okay, overall, the overview of the speech. So there's in the speech there's a lot of anecdotes. I didn't go over all of them. There's a lot of pathos and ethos and some logos to help prove facts about like the historical events. Um, the ethos is mainly because he is telling his own story and he gets all the credit. The pathos is throughout the whole speech. It's very underlying and it's not some surface pathos. You would have to keep on like looking for it and find the meaning behind it. So another thing that helps like showcase the pathos are the devices. They really put an emphasis on the story, especially the anecdotes because you know it's a real story. And there's a little bit of humor in the speech just so that you know at certain points like it's not him trying to say why he hates America. It's how and why he like finds out he loves it. So overall, the story kind of like all connects together and like shows you how he loves America through a journey.